Hello and welcome back. We are going into the second round of the streamed matches for today, and it's going to be SHEEPS versus Altiora Rising. Do we know much about either of these teams?
Well, from what I know that Sheeps are looking like the underdogs of this tournament. They're a new team. They're very, very new, so they'll be sort of in an environment with different people that they may have not had experience playing with compared to a lot of the other teams we got in the tournament. But often the underdogs can be the sort of people that have like the potential to take out the bigger teams because you never really know sort of what to expect with teams like the Sheeps because they're going to be coming out with things that people might not have seen before, or it's end up being the Sheeps just don't have the experience to play alongside the teams that have just been playing for so much longer than them. So we'll have to wait and see. But it's going to be quite interesting. Obviously, they're going to be playing goats competitions as this tournament is a goats tournament. So not going to see many changes there. But yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting seeing what the Sheeps come out with strategy wise.
Like you said, I hope that inexperience doesn't play in SHEEPS' downfall. Goat does take a lot of self-control not to push up, too far as a brig, let's say, and just get picked off because then it's just a 5v6 and usually the bigger number wins. So a lot of
Yeah,
that self-control and experience is going to be very useful in situations like this. So we're going to want to see if, Sheeps just have that natural talent to be able to keep themselves in line.
yeah. Overwatch is just such a team game, especially with goats competition. Everyone's got to work sort of as more of a unit and just sort of work as a team to move forwards. And if you're not making space as a goats competition and you don't have that sort of teamwork aspect, then you're not going to be able to get onto point and you're not going to be able to make these big plays because you're too spread out or you're too compacty. You're just going to end up getting hit by the same things, or you're just going to end up getting split from your team. There's always the sort of balance between working closely as a team, but also working separately to get the biggest impact possible.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a team game. If one of your players isn't playing for the rest of the team, it's a lot of that synergy just really breaks down, and you're going to find it really a struggle to get out some wins that you would normally find if you just had a little bit more synergy and teamwork. So
Yeah,
Chiefs have a lot up against them at the moment. I really want to see if they can pull through.
yeah, that's very very true. So Rising as well. I'm excited to see sort of what they come out with, but it's definitely going to be an interesting match. I'm definitely very excited. I'm not quite sure if we're about to start yet, but we'll definitely let you know if we are. But sort of what so considering last game, what sort of stood out to you in goats in general then?
Um, Honestly, it really was that flex support. I was looking mostly at the main tanks towards the start, but I saw flex support players really being just an absolute standout for the rest of the team. And honestly, I was really impressed by the level of play coming out from the Ana and the Zen. Usually finding picks either in the middle of team fights, hitting those clutch shots when the pressure's on, or just finding really nice anti-nades that just really bulldoze over certain team fights. So I really want to
Exactly.
look out and see if they can replicate the success that we saw in that first round from both the
It's
flex
like
supports.
you're watching a main tank play. You're just like, wow, they're doing really well. That sort of potential isn't possible without the support sort of backing them up. And you can just, if you just watch their HP bar, you'll see it drop really, really low, but then suddenly it'll pop right back up. And that's because the supports are staying in the fight. And the longer that the supports are just throwing heals into their tanks, the longer the fight is going to be. And whoever's sort of pumping in the most heals is inevitably probably going to win the fight. So it's all about the supports, and they don't get the amount of attention that they need because it's usually like you're watching this main tank get the quadra kill or whatever, but that's
Mm,
because of the supports sort of helping them stay alive and helping them get there. So it's going to be interesting to see the three supports we get on each team. We saw Anna and Zen being played a lot in the last game as sort of like flexes, and then Brig and Lucio. But if you want more of a healing based team, obviously Anna's the preferred pick. But if you need a bit more damage, obviously it's going to be with a Zenyatta. So definitely going to be interesting. I'm definitely excited about this game in general. But supports are definitely up there as sort of someone you have to rely on in your team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when it consists of half of your squad, you have 3 tanks and 3 supports. Those tanks rely on the support, and the supports rely on the tanks. Remember, it's a team game. None of this, not no one works. No individual player is going to work well if they don't have 5 others backing them up, and that's why you see the Reinhardt getting shattered in about 30 seconds.
Yeah,
He needs his team with him.
yeah. It's not only the supports are going to be doing the healing, but if you look at like a Lucio or a Brig, their main sort of goal is to make opportunities and sort of get in the back line, with Brig just pestering on the front line, getting stuns to stop people from coming in, and Lucio going in the back line to find picks. It's not only about just sitting and healing, it's about killing as well. And that's the entire sort of principle of Goat Comp, is to have a whole team that can kill, but a whole team that can survive, which is really important in Overwatch. Which is like, if you're dying, you're sort of out that team fight. But if you can survive and sustain for as long as possible whilst finding opportunities to get a kill, that's when you're sort of at the peak, and that's why you're going to win games. Is just making sure you don't die, making sure you're only looking for opportunities where you were going to die for a kill. Is it really worth it? Considering who you're playing, is there more of a better option where you can find a kill without dying for it, and then it'll become a 6v5, and that's how you win a fight. So playing as a team is important, finding opportunities is important, and that comes from a mixture of a tank from holding up their shield to a support from holding on healing. It's
Mm,
definitely making opportunities is a big part of goats.
yeah, absolutely. Especially when you've got such fast-paced gameplay, you really do need your players to back you up. So it's exactly as you say. I'm not sure who's going to be picking the map. I can't quite remember who was the highest seeded team. I believe it was Altiora Rising.
uh, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Altiora Horizon
Mm.
are choosing the first map. But
Well,
I'm very excited because we saw Nepal and King's Row, which are two goats maps. So maps are so important for goats. But it looks like we're going to Lijiang, which is one of my favorite maps to be in. What's your sort of opinions on Lijiang?
it really is just one of those classic maps. It feels like whenever you get into a scrim with the rest of your team, you always load up Lijiang first and then King's Row. They really
Yeah,
are just kind of S tier in the eyes of the community of Overwatch. People really do love these two maps, and
they
I'd
just
agree.
drill in the fundamentals
Yeah,
for sure.
and also not
It's
to
like
mention, we've got a lot of environmental, things to be done. We're gonna want to see if the
exactly
Lucy or Diva can get some nice boops.
on night market specifically. Like you've got to be considering sort of the direction you're going to be going, because you can go um on to the top side, but that's going to put you long away from point, but it's going to give you the height advantage. But then you could go bottom side, but end up having the risk of getting booped off for getting to point early. Usually, when I'm playing on Lijiang, I'll head mid because it's safe um, and open, so you don't have the risk of getting booped, and you also can get onto point relatively fast. But we'll have to see what they go for here.
Yeah, well, Herb R is really just pushing up. He's taking that positional advantage for his team. He's really just holding that forward shield. He's a bit static at the moment. The stun is going to come in onto the blue team's Reinhardt, and he's going to fall immediately. Esu just getting rolled over by the Zen in the Brig, helped by the Reinhardt, who finishes the below. A stagger might come off onto the Baby Diva, but there's the boop. And we're going to see a cap for the red team.
It looks like red team just pushed through. Both teams went mid, but um, Herb managed to get there first and just push them all back, and just no getting to point after that. And he's already got 66 on his shatter compared to the 22 on the side of Rising here. So
By the looks of it, a huge anti-nade is going to come in as well. Most of the tank line. Princess and Herb going to go super low because of that nade. Herb is going to fall, and so does Gorge Steel. It's just a bit of a rampage on point right now. Princess is not going to be able to get away. She stalls out on point, and the Lucio falls as well.
a massive
Place
plays
of
by Keen
fight.
there. They've already built the nano, which is usually quite hard to build, as well as them actually the Altio Rising tank line have managed to build their ults before that of Sheep. So it's kind of interesting to see how the fight just immediately swapped around and goes towards Rising.
Yeah, well, we're going to see an early shatter come out. It's going to find one onto Princess, but mostly blocked. But Esu is going to get himself and his team shattered. Herbark and with a huge shatter. Royal's going to come out with the grab, and there's going to be a trans on the field. Turtle coming in clutch for the rest of his team. Paired with the rally, that is going to be impossible to get through any damage, be any effect. The Diva is going to be demeched, and it's going to be a point flip immediately.
Yeah, even with all those ults committed into that fight, they still don't win. It's just very, very strong performance there from the Sheeps. I was saying earlier, it's definitely going to be a surprise what we'd expect to see from them, but very, very impressive what they've done so far. Like, winning a fight when they're committing 3 or 4 ults is quite a challenge, because ults play such an important part in the game.
Yeah,
so if you're winning fights without using as many ults as the opponent, that's quite impressive.
And speaking of ults, we're going to see the Diva Bomb from Lily come out really early. It's going to find no one, but it's going to do damage to the shield. The beat is going to come out from Harley. The remech is going to come onto the front line, but without that mech in play, there is a free grab on the field. Esu's going to get left up into it, and unfortunately, Georgie Steele is just going to get so much value from this grab. Herb are swinging into it and just cleaning up the field. Zarya gets away with the charge.
Yeah, there's just no opportunities presented there from the Diva ult, and the counter beat from that ult just resulted in them just getting stormed. As soon as they tried to push forward to try and get anywhere near point, grab came out, so many ults came out from the Sheeps, so just no opportunities presented, and they couldn't claim point there. But they are looking with a couple more ults here.
Well, they are looking for an opportunity, but they're not going to find it. A 5-man shot comes out from Herbar. It's going to find onto everyone except for the Lucio. He's on 96% to that beat. Can he get it out on time for the rest of his team? He's going to go low, but unfortunately he dies to it. Harley takes him out, and he's going to have that beat completely removed from play. It's 98. I'm not going to be sure if they can even touch. And now, objective secured for Sheeps.
Very impressive from the Sheeps there. I mean, it did look like Altiora Horizon were bringing that one slightly back when they claimed it in that second fight, but the Sheeps just stopped them, like, in their tracks immediately, just coming back and winning a fight without committing too many ults, and then it meant the next fight that they would win, and the next fight after that. And from then on, it was just dominant from the Sheeps. There was no sort of opportunities being made on their side, but they are swapping onto the Moira now, which is another one you are like to see in Goats. Moira Goats is really, really strong for the healing, because everyone's quite grouped up. So the Moira healing is definitely going to be quite powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. You really want short fights though with the Moira, because she struggles to have heals available later on in fights.
Yeah, once you commit that orb into a fight, it's going to be difficult. We've also got the Winston coming out.
Look at that cleave. He's on 30% already, and point's not even locked. A huge nade is going to come out, but Esu's going to go low a little bit. Will they be able to survive? And yes, they do. In fact, not quite. Both Divas are going to trade their main tanks, and so it's quite even at the moment. We're going to just want to see. There is a DC, so it is a 4v5 at the moment. We're going to want to see if they can clutch this out.
Honestly, I would say that was quite an impressive showing from Altiora Horizon there. Like, the Winston was getting stocked already 51% on the Primal, so that's going to be quite difficult for them to make opportunities, because this map, so many opportunities to just whack people off the map. So
speaking of, Royal is going to fall into the pit.
There we go.
Really great boop from Harley coming in there. Esu is going to fall to the enemy Moira, and unfortunately, by the looks of it, blue team are struggling to stay alive on point, and Sheeps are just going to have extra percentage points available to them.
Just racking percentage here with the Altiora not able to get onto point. They have built a ult though, so that could be quite an important ult to sort of see, but 2 support ults coming on the side of the Sheeps right now, so have to see what they do with them.
Yeah, I mean, these ultimates are really useful. We're going to see the Winston come available on point. The grab is huge, and unfortunately the Diva is going to be antied. There's no way they can get away with that. The grab and the bomb is going to become available, and it's going to get used on point. Georgie Steele with full charge. The shatter comes out. It's going to find one onto Yusuf. They are now out of the fight. The rally is now over from Party Bag. I'm going to be able to see if their team can be able to sustain after this. A lot of ults are being used on point right now. The Primal comes out and it gets used, the Diva's going to be demeched, and the rally is going to come on for the Tifa. They're committing ults to this fight. They want to be able to hold on to this for as long as possible. King gets the nano available and it's going to be used immediately onto Esu. That main tank is going to be providing so much space on point. Now the Reinhardt is very low with an anti and the grab comes out. We're going to see if Esu can capitalize on this. The Reinhardt is going to fall, but unfortunately Esu is going to fall along with it. Turtle taking him out of the fight. Royal's going to die to the enemy D.Va, and I think this is a hold for SHEEPS.
Yeah, it looks that way because they just managed to keep that fight going for so long. They got their Brig back into the fight and the rally comes out, and that's just the game done after that. Rally is such a strong ultimate, it just kept them in that fight for so long. We were saying earlier, supports, they play such a responsibility in making fights last so long. And honestly, TYFA, you can see him in the game right here. Like, very impressive showing. The rally is such a strong ultimate when used correctly.
Absolutely vital. I mean, we saw neither team were the team who had rally up. The team who had rally up really was just winning those battles, and it came out to just who used rally second. I think was the main deciding factor in that fight. Is that Brig really coming in handy?
Yeah, Brig is as we're saying a really important part of Goats because she has engage as well as having sort of constant stream of damage that can hit multiple people and a knockback. Like, what else can you ask for in a Goats composition? And as well with that rally, that's usually a great ultimate to use just before a fight starts. Bring your team into the fight with the Reinhardt, push the Reinhardt forwards onto the point, and then that rally is going to have built so much armor by the time you're on point that the fight's just winnable from there. It's similar to beat as well. You can beat sort of mid fight to counteract an ultimate, and that's going to change a fight around. So it's all about these support ultimates that are changing the fights, but the damage that are getting the people to point with the tanks, pushing people forwards, which is also a really important part of Goats.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this fast-paced playstyle. They had the Winston on their team, and so really, they should have just played a little bit faster, but played closer and then just built up ultimates. Ultimates, like you say, is just an absolute deciding factor when playing in these Goats tournaments.
Oh, for sure. Especially Winston. He's not the usual pick in Goats because you're usually expecting to see a Reinhardt, but Winston, I feel like the pick worked in a sense, but it was definitely difficult to find because Winston's usually great at finding opportunities to get a kill that someone's like slightly split from the group, maybe a Zen, maybe an Ana. But he couldn't find those opportunities because everyone was so clumped and they were playing a Brig and they were playing a Moira, so people were more clumped together and they weren't having the sort of ranged healers like a Zen or an Ana. So the Winston just couldn't find any kills, so he just spent most of his time just throwing damage into tanks and building ult. It worked, but it could have worked better with a different composition. Winston's definitely great, but maybe not against Goats.
Absolutely. When you play that Winston, you really do want a strategy behind it. Honestly, I'm surprised they're not pulling this strategy out here. I feel like Winston could be quite useful on these sort of varying high grounds. No?
Yeah, Winston on Numbani attack is usually seen a lot, but SHEEPS didn't play Winston last time, so it'd be weird if they did play him this time, but we might see EC bring him out when they're on the attack. But classic Goats compositions coming out from both sides with the Zenyatta.
Absolutely. An interesting rotation here. They're going to go under. I think the teams are on top of each other. The Ryan's going to drop. Both bubbles get exchanged and the Ryan's going to get stunned up. Esu's just falling. Really unfortunate there. Lily in the backline just trying to put in damage for the rest of their team. The D.Va is going to try and jump on. Ellie is just going to get demeched, unfortunately, and it's just a stall game at this point. A decisive victory.
Just clean them up really fast. There's just all the damage coming out from Zenyatta's making these fights last just no time at all. It's just so easy to claim with the Zenyatta. Just keeping their Zen on point to get the ticks going and already pushing them far back.
SHEEPS do like to push up as close to the spawn doors as they can see. Really just holding this corridor at the moment. Staring the enemy down.
Having to get a different angle over here. Just couldn't get through the SHEEPS, so managed to get back onto the path.
An early bubble from Royal there. Goodness, want to see if they have that energy available to them. The Shatter's going to come up, but the tank line is going to be shattered, barring Lily only. Yusuf is going to get taken out, stunned up and discorded, and you just get removed from the game, unfortunately. It's just 3 alive, and that's another fight won for Sheeps.
They just didn't even touch point in that situation. They just couldn't get there, so the points just kept moving forwards. So we'll probably see it make it all the way to the last point here, unless they can contest quickly. But they have one opportunity to stop it from getting to this last section. If not, they are going to lose this next fight pretty quick.
I believe in the recontest. If they believe in it, I do. The rally is going to get used early by Tifa, just absolutely creating so much space on that front line. Someone's Rhine shield is going to be destroyed, and we're not sure who, but they just cap out. That Brig ult is so powerful in these GOAT comps.
Yeah, I mean, look at the amount of ults that are coming out on both sides. We've got almost all the ults coming out from the Sheeps here.
And all the ults are going to be used. There's a D.Va bomb, there's 2 rallies, there's a Transom there in there. The bomb isn't going to find much, it's just going to clean off the baby D.Va, but that's the first fight win for Altiora Rising.
I feel like was quite a lot committed from Rising there. I mean, they did do well to use all the ults to their full potential, but that was a lot committed to a fight that was probably won after the Rhine got 2 early picks. So was it really worth it? That's sort of what you got to consider.
Well, time will tell as we're going into the next fight soonish. Looks like
They are choosing to go for the high ground though.
Very interesting considering they're on a short range GOAT composition, but they are going to get the jump. The Lucio is going to go very low, but Harley managing to find the beat off in time. Esu is going to fall to the enemy Rhine Shatter. Princess taking out Yusuf on that Brig, and it's just cleanup at this point.
Yep, picks come out, and from there on you can't really win that fight. Turtle finding 2 in that fight though, very, very impressive display of what Zenyatta can do when he's attacking people and they exchange and then just charged away. No getting point through to there.
That was so odd. I've never seen the
I just love interactions like
both
that.
of the enemy players. I've never seen that interaction before.
It's always cool because you'll think, oh, Reinhardt, he's so powerful, he's got a giant jet engine, but no, Brigitte with her little 200 HP shield just goes boop, and then you both suddenly knocked over, and it's whoever can take out the opponent first is the one that comes out on the top. And in their case, they had Herb with the charge, and yeah, it gives them the win. They won every team fight except one in that whole round. So very, very impressive showing. And it just shows the power of ults, because Rising only won that one fight because they committed so many ults. It was a great display of sort of explosions with D.Va bombs and grabs coming out, but impressive from both sides nonetheless.
How do you think the ultimate economy of each team compares to each other?
It is quite even, because I feel like Rising are building their ults fast, but just are struggling to use them in the correct situations. But then Sheeps, they're just using their ults a little bit wiser. They're spreading out their ults between fights and only committing a certain amount to a certain fight, rather than just playing a D.Va ult to get a last couple picks that you may have been able to get anyway. So it's very important that you're committing your ults correctly in the correct situations, and that's how you're going to end up with good ult economy.
Yeah, we're going to see a very early fight coming out here. Esu going down very early. That main tank missing for Altiora is going to be prove really quite painful for them as Yusuf falls immediately after.
Almost like a surprise attack came out there from Sheeps. So the Altiora Horizons just forced to drop back there. Kind of unlucky, unexpected.
I actually saw Harley touch the spawn doors, so I can appreciate that coming out from the Lucio there. Esu is going to have that Discord. Both Rhines have the Discord at the moment. That's a lot of damage coming out, and Esu, unfortunately, is just going to fall short. Not by much, though. Royal does manage to take out her bar on that Reinhardt for Sheeps. That rally is going to prove vital in making sure that this defense stays alive, though.
Just no options being presented so far from Rising, so they are forced to attack again. but they are building their ults nice and fast, as I mentioned previously. But it does look like SHEEPS already have 2 ults fully built. But and they could find opportunities to get an ult in this fight, but they are pretty close with all their ultimates. So.
Well, we're going to see a high ground battle at the moment. The Shatter's going to come out. I don't think it's going to find many. I'm not too sure. The Grav is going to come out, but Turtle answers out with a Trans. The Shatter comes out and it's going to find 4 by the looks of it, but against that Trans, it's not going to find much. Herbar going down to half HP. The Grav comes out from Princess, and the Remake! One of the supports is going to get taken out by the bomb itself, and the Remake is going to find a pick onto Yusuf. The Brig is now out of play. Esu is going to fall to the enemy main tank, and it's just clean up onto Royal on that sideline. What a great play by Princess.
I had all my attention on Royal there. That Grav came out really early in the fight, and you can see already got 91% onto their ultimate, but just so much healing is coming out from the side of SHEEPS that they just couldn't find a pick. But they are going to get a Grav in the second fight as well, and that ult is hard to build.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to want to see if he can get much value out of it. The Grav is going to come out from Royal. It's going to be huge. The bomb comes out, and Esu is just cleaning up on point. A lot of ults used there, but it may guarantee point A.
There we go, you see, Royal, if he hadn't done all that damage in the last fight, they wouldn't have had that ultimate, and they probably wouldn't have won that fight. But on the side of SHEEPS, we're looking at 2 tank ultimates here and a rally. So it is quite risky to play into, but maybe they'll sacrifice one of these fights here to win the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to see quite an early fight come out here. The rally is going to be committed, but Keen is going to answer to that with a Trans of their own. Turtle has his Trans available to him very soon. I think a Shatter came out. Yep, both Shatters were used there, not finding anything else though. Yusuf is going to be the first to fall, getting pushed up by the main tank, and I'm afraid that's it.
And they really probably shouldn't have committed 2 ults into that fight, because they could have used them in the next fight to storm a little bit faster. But they have lost that fight after committing multiple ults, and which they probably could have saved. So it's all about understanding when you need to be committing certain ultimates, especially Shatter and Trans, which are fight changing.
We're gonna see Royal coming out at an off angle. That's an interesting choice for a Zarya, especially in Goats. Maybe a miscommunication there. But the looks of it, there's a fight going on, and Lily's sat in spawn. That's not what you want to see. The Grav is available for Georgie Steele, and it's not going to be used. It is actually going to be used. It's going to find 3 by the looks of it, but Royal's going to answer that with a Grav of his own. Esu is going to fall to Georgie Steele, and that fully charged Zarya is just going to prove so monumental in these mid-fights.
Yeah, just spamming right click. Not much you can do. You're just going to constantly get knocked back, a lot of damage, and that's what's winning you the fights. It's all about damage when it comes to Goats. Just out damaging your opponent and out healing your opponent.
Well, speaking of damage, there's a Shatter and a bomb going to get used. Princess is going to give their life up for that bomb, but the Brig might fall to the Reinhardt, who's getting pushed with a Trans available to him. He's gonna fall, he's not gonna even go low, but by the looks of it, Royal's gonna be caught out of position, going back to first spawn. That's not where you want to be going, mate. He's actually gonna live, and the pit is gonna come back in from spawn. It's all up in the air at the moment. The Shatter gets used by her, I think. I'm not too sure what's going on. Esu's gonna fall to half. I don't think he has the support available to him. The Grav is gonna get used. The beat is gonna be answered to her. It's chaos. It's not, they're not even fighting near the point.
They've just completely pushed them back. There's just no getting back to the point from here. Considering they claimed first point, but now they're all the way back at spawn. Like,
One Royal. Yeah.
Royal killed himself to get that kill, and I think that's well worth it.
That was
because they are going to respawn right next to the point here.
And a huge Shatter comes out from Esu. It's going to find 4, and he's going to take a pick onto Tedza. The Trans is going to come up just to counteract that Graviton Surge as Georgie Steele, with full charge, just putting in right clicks into the enemy team. Going to find a pick onto the Zen. And
they've really managed to bring this one back, because they spawned so close to point compared to the opponents, so they had a lot less in their fight, especially with Herb on the Reinhardt. He's now spawned here and is getting pressured back, but because they didn't have their Reinhardt and the opponents did, they just managed to win overall. And there's the pick on Herb as well, just completely stripped from his team.
Yeah, unfortunate there. I don't think it'll matter, because they are going to get a recontest regardless.
They definitely could have got away with 2 if they'd just been a little bit more patient, but they are probably only going to end up with 1 unless they're really fast here and clean up really fast. They just have to get on point.
Well, at 30 seconds, I don't think it'll matter. There's a Shatter going to come out. It's going to find a solo onto Party Bag. Keen is going to respond to that. Shatter with the trans, but Herb is going to get taken down by Lily on that D.Va, taking these nice off angles and just DMing for Haran. Pushing up here. I think the point is guaranteed, but who knows?
D.Va ult's coming out though.
Royal's going to go low. The Boop is going to come into the enemy team and they're going to lose their Zarya for that. Herb is coming in with the respawn. Taya is going to die as Brig on point, doing her job and getting some sustain on point. By the looks of it, Lucio is going to help with that as Herb gets the sound barrier, but the trans from Turtle is surely going to guarantee it for Sheets. I'm not too sure.
When you were just saying about how it was guaranteed, they just pull out all the stops there, didn't they?
Yeah.
It's just amazing how you can change a game with a fight. Like you don't get that with a lot of games, but in Overwatch, you build an ultimate. That's going to be your potential to change a game. But it is going to go towards Altiora Horizons, Rising. Sorry, not Horizons. Very very impressive though from both sides. We saw SHEEPS probably win more of the fights, but whenever a fight was won by Rising, it wasn't usually because they were committing a lot of ultimates. It was because they were just generally outplaying with better spacing, better teamwork. But the ult economy coming out from the SHEEPS, it was just so much better. They were building ults faster. They were using not all of their ults in one fight, but spreading them out between multiple fights. Because it's always difficult when you're playing in solo queue because you might be committing your ult when everyone's committing their ult, and then you're going to be left in the next fight with no ults. But if you're sort of thinking about when you're using it, not using it straight away, then it's going to be when you're going to be getting better ult economy. You're getting your ults a bit more spread out in your team, so you can commit them at different times. It's always really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe that is going to be a 2-0 victory to SHEEPS, I'm sure. I
Yeah,
believe so, yeah. Did any players stand out to you specifically on the side of
like as an
SHEEPS?
MVP.
Yeah, in an MVP sense, yes.
TYFA for me, because of the rally. It was winning fights on its own. They just used the rally to push in. They used the rally to make opportunities. And as I was saying, the ult economy on the side of SHEEPS was very, very impressive. And that was because they were using their ults at different points. I've already talked about this. But TYFA specifically stands out because rally is such an important ult in GOATs because it's about pushing your team in. And they just had so much healing and so much armor from that. So it just made it go towards SHEEPS in the end. So I think TYFA for me is a personal MVP. Anyone else stand out to you or?
I would suggest Geordie Steele go in there for that MVP role, but I mean Royal did give them a good run for their money. They lineup into Zarias was quite even, so I would also give it to TYFA. That Brig really was on point with their rallies, with their armor packs, and with their stuns. Just a very well-rounded Brig player for Sheeps.
Yeah,
And
as you were saying, Royal. I would say the Graviton Surges were really carrying that team really hard because Graviton Surge can change a fight, and it was really clear because every fight that the Altiora Horizons Altiora keep saying Horizons Altiora Rising run was because of the Graviton Surge. So it just goes to show that ult is going to make a big difference, and it's because it groups everyone up. Your Reinhardt can pile on, and it just changes a fight like that. So very, very impressive from Royal as well. But TYFA, an MVP for me.
yeah, that is a very, very good shout. I would also give it to TYFA with that Brig play. We are going to go to a short break. After that short break of about 10 minutes, we are going to be going into an interview with the Lucio from Team Sheeps, and we're going to be having a little talk about the Lucio 1v1s that they may have gone to. So we will see you just after the break.
All right, welcome back. So we've got an interview now with Harley from the Sheeps. So,
Oh.
Harley, did you enjoy that game?
Yeah, it was amazing actually. It was so fun.
Yeah, you definitely stormed in general. Very very
Yeah,
impressive showing from both sides, but your
yeah.
team just generally just a bit ahead. I've got a couple questions for you here.
Mhm.
First one is what comes into mind when you're using beat? It's such an important ultimate in a fight. So what sort are you thinking about when you're using it? Are you using more of a counteractive ultimate to counter some of the enemy ults, or is it more of a let's try and win this fight as best we can? So let's start committing some ultimates.
Majority of the time I'm using it as a counteractive, using it to mainly nullify Grav and sometimes Devo if I get the chance. But
Mm.
sometimes we can use it quite aggressively just to push in.
Yeah, we did see Royal get some very very powerful grabs, but constantly you seem to be trying to use the beat to counteract it. It's
Mhm.
something that you can completely negate the value of a grab with. Beat is
Yeah.
just one of those really powerful ultimates that you really need in a goat's composition.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, your main hero was going to be that Lucio. How did you approach the opposing Lucio on Team Altiora?
Oh, if I'm gonna be completely honest, half of the time I just yeeted my body into him. But in all seriousness, I guess I tried to focus him down. I remember on a Nimbani where I managed to soundwave him while he was using beat, just so we could get a little bit more damage on them before that beat. But yeah, honestly, the opposing Lucio didn't really scare me. I just was able to go aggressive on him and chase him out.
Did you feel like the more dominant Lucio in general then?
Yeah.
Got some confidence. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of confidence, how would you describe your play style? Because like, there's a lot of different ways you can play Lucio. There's more like the sort of campy swapping heals backline Lucio, but then there's the wall riding in and boom boom boom, your
Yeah,
backline's dead Lucio.
I'm more the aggressive type of Lucio. I always speed my team in, speed myself in. Maybe I push a little bit too fast sometimes, but at least I don't die.
Everyone does that. Everyone does that. I know exactly where you're coming
Yeah.
from.
Well, I mean, your aggressive playstyle must be pretty fun. What makes you want to play Lucio specifically?
Oh, it's definitely the fast-paced gameplay. And the thing is, I used to play Lucio Ball quite a lot, so I'm used to that fast-paced gameplay as well. So my mindset is sort of just let's just zoom in, kill everything, speed in, let's go.
See, whenever I'm playing Lucio, I always find it difficult because I feel like I'm pretty decent at getting the wall riding like fundamentals, which is
Yeah.
quite hard. But then I can't aim at the same time because like there's so much movement going on, and like you watch these like really good Lucios, like you of course, where you're
Thank you.
sort of tracking and finding picks as Lucio. I just find that so hard. I can't bring myself to do that.
A little tip is to have a very high sensitivity.
Yeah, I should think that'd be quite useful. So, sort of last question here. When you're approaching a team fight, obviously they play a big part in Lucio's kit because he's got a lot of sort of multiple people are targeting moves like AoE moves like his boop and stuff. So when you're approaching a team fight with your team, what are you thinking about doing? Is it more boosting your team? Is it more keeping your Reinhardt alive? So what are you thinking about?
We focus on keeping our Rhine alive, but the main thing is just to speed in onto their Rhine, at least let their Rhine go down first, so even if our Rhine does go down, we've traded that pick, and we're going to be able to get some extra damage on top, since their Rhine's gone down beforehand.
So one thing I do like to ask people before they go is what were comms like? It's always quite an interesting question to ask people because sometimes you get the groups that have like there's one person just telling people what to do, usually the Reinhardt.
Yeah.
But you get some comms that are a little different and they work a little differently. So what was your comms like?
We scream a lot, but it can get quite cluttered, but we are also quite organized at the same time. We have a really good shot caller, and we know which targets to focus, so our comms are actually quite good.
Very, very nice. It's a pleasure talking to you. Very, very well played in general. Very impressive show from your whole team.
Thank you.
Specifically to support line, I feel like you kept your tanks running. So very, very well played. You're a better Lucio than me for sure. Thank you very much for coming to the interview. And I think we're going to head in a short here before we get on to our next round of gameplay. But thank you very much. Good luck with the rest of the tournament
Yeah, thank you.
and see you soon.
See ya.